In this video, the last of the IntellisenseX videos, I will talk about the known issues that come up when using IntellisenseX. I'll show you why these problems occur, how you can work around them, and if these issues become too much of a stumbling block for you, a different tool that you can use, which doesn't work quite as naturally as using the dot, but doesn't encounter any of the issues which I am going to demonstrate. All of the problems occur when you type a dot that is not supposed to be acted upon by IntellisenseX, but IntellisenseX gets in the way and interrupts the normal execution. The first example has to do with just simply typing in a logical constant. If you type in dot t dot, all is well. If, on the other hand, you type fast dot t dot, what happens is that one or more of the characters after the first dot may get gobbled up. They disappear. To understand why this is happening, you need to look at the actual tool. I'm going to take you to IntellisenseX by dot. We're going to edit the tool, and I'm going to view it in read-only mode. And when you enable IntellisenseX by dot, all that's really happening is it's setting an on-key label statement. Some PRG is going to execute. And when you disable it, that on-key label is turned off. What that means is if IntellisenseX is enabled, every time you press a dot, some extra code gets executed. And if IntellisenseX is not supposed to do something with the dot, the fact that this program executed gets in the way of the actual execution. Before showing you another example, I'll tell you that the same thing can happen if you're typing in numbers. If I type in 3.4, the 4 disappeared. The second example I'll show you occurs when the drop-down list box you have is from IntelliSense rather than IntellisenseX. So if I go to the command window and I create an object called O, I bring up the debugger and start typing O dot the name of an object, and I have CMD escaped highlighted. When I now press the dot, instead of getting CMD escape, I only get CMD because IntellisenseX processed the dot and got in the way of the normal execution. The third place that you can see a problem occurs when you're typing the dot in an edit box or a text box. So for instance, if I use another Thor tool called SuperBrowse, which browses the current table, and if I type in base price greater than 3 dot, if you look very closely, you'll see that the cursor has moved to the left of the 3 instead of after the dot. And that's because of a problem when, once again, when IntellisenseX executed some code when I press the dot. These are only 3 examples of cases where IntelliSense gets in the way when you type a dot. There are certainly other areas as well. So if you see something that goes wrong when you type a dot, think of IntellisenseX as a possible cause. Now, there are 2 basic ways that you could avoid this problem. The first is to say, and at a time when I know I don't want IntellisenseX to be working, I can turn it off. And the way you can do that is to go to the launcher. Going to go to the launcher. You'll notice that IntellisenseX by dot has a hotkey that I have assigned to it. I can toggle it on and off for the times when I do or do not want to use it. So if we go back to the case of the debugger, the key is Shift 9. Press Shift 9, you can see that IntellisenseX is terminated, and I can type o.cmd dot, and it works as I wanted. And then I can turn it back on again. The reason then for this hotkey is so that you could turn IntellisenseX on and off again as you need it. If you find that this does not work well for you, what you can do instead is never use IntellisenseX by dot, and only use IntellisenseX for exactly the statements that you wish, which is by using the second tool here, IntellisenseX by hotkey. You'll notice that I've assigned this Control I for IntelliSense as its hotkey. And first I'm going to turn off IntelliSense. Now when I type a dot, if I say master parts list dot, nothing happens because IntellisenseX is turned off. But instead of typing the dot, if I press Control I get the drop down. And everything else about this works the same. The difference between the two is IntellisenseX by dot works every time you type the dot. IntellisenseX by hotkey only works when you do Control I, which means everything that I've shown you in this video, the problems that occur when you press the dot, never occur if instead you have chosen only to use IntellisenseX by hotkey.